Jimmy's Jam Box. Keep jamming. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another exciting episode. Jimmy's Jam Box. We're here. We're back at it again, and we're going to get on into it. But before we do, as always, please make sure to like, subscribe, push all the buttons, do all the things. You know, I don't know where they are, but you do, and I trust you. And with that being said, let's go ahead and get on into it. Here is today's guest.
What's the big old deal, y'all? Swiggle Mandela.
Hello. Thank you so much for joining us. Why don't you tell us a little bit about where you're from, what you do, give us that like Tinder profile of your involvement with music.
For sure. I'm from Portland. For the most part. So I was born in Portland, and then my parents moved to Estacada.
Oh, okay.
So we lived in Estacada for a while, and that was super country. Like
I've been out there before. Yeah.
So we had like 5 acres and like chickens and rabbits,
just general land stuff.
Yeah, and our neighbors had like horses and stuff like that.
Okay.
And then my parents divorced. Probably like, I don't know how old I was, maybe 4 or 5, maybe 5 or 6. So then it was the 90s, and then I moved to Oakland with my mom.
Oh, okay.
Yep, and that was like culture shock.
Yeah, it's a very different place.
Yeah,
it's a very different place.
Yeah, and we moved into like a pretty ghetto area. So tiny little house.
Yeah.
It was a guest house behind a foreclosed
gotcha.
property. Yeah, so it was a guest house of an actual house. So
yeah.
It was very
snug.
Living room, kitchen.
You were just living that tiny house life before everybody else was doing the tiny house thing.
And so then eventually, Oakland was just like, for me, a great experience, but also like a terrible experience.
It's got the best and worst of a lot of things, but there's a specific culture in there that like you won't find anywhere else. It thrives very differently there.
And then the person who my mom was dating was like terrible. So just awful, just trauma, abuse.
Yeah.
And so then we moved back to Portland, and he followed us, and eventually they split. My mom was eventually done. And then we lived in Portland for a while, and my dad moved from Estacada to Portland, so we were all in the same city again for a while, and then my mom moved. We moved with my mom to Compton. Compton is where I got inspired to make music, and so Compton was like another kind of similar to Oakland, where it was ghetto and very, very gang related, and but very inspirational at the same time, because like this is when I was like listening to a lot of hip hop, and
that was definitely the place to be for it.
Yeah. You start to know like okay, Dr. Dre's from here.
Yeah.
You know, you hear Ice Cube rapping about Compton, and so Steve Harvey was on the radio every day, and you just know he's somewhere in LA. So just that, a lot of that started to inspire me. And at the time, Bow Wow had just came out. And I was a kid.
His name comes up a lot, actually. Yeah.
And I recently met him, actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, shout out to Bow Wow. But, I met him at Damian Lillard's album release.
Okay.
Shout out to Dame, too.
Hell yeah. But Damian Lillard, if you want to ever be on the show.
Word. And so, I started to become inspired. I wrote my first rhyme when I was in Compton, and I was like 9 years old, and it was like terrible. Oh, Lil Wayne was out too at that time.
Mhm.
He was a teenager,
Yeah.
and so Wayne was like very inspirational too, and Romeo. And so then
Oh man, I haven't heard Romeo's name in a while.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
we really wanted to move back to Portland
Mhm.
because my dad lived in Portland.
Mm.
All of my mom's siblings lived in Portland, so like a lot of the cousins I grew up with lived in Portland. But my mom is black and my dad's Filipino,
Mhm.
and there was like a lot of my Filipino side was in California.
Yeah. Gotcha.
So that was like cool too because we grew up a lot with them. And then eventually
there's a really big Filipino community in California.
Yeah, for sure. And we moved back to Portland probably like when I was in middle school, and that's when I really started to get into the music around middle school, and I started to just like, well, it wasn't freestyle, but probably some freestyle, but start writing, and I didn't really know bars.
Or structure. You just knew the words went together.
Exactly.
Now, who were some of your like early influences around this time? Like, who were you listening to music to like get inspiration from during this window where music was starting to inspire you more?
Tupac, of course.
Of course. Which, if we can get his hologram on the show, I'll do that. That'd be something.
And coming from like living in California, just everything California, like in Southern California, especially because that's where we were. So Exhibit, Snoop Dogg, Ice Cube.
Man, Exhibit doesn't get talked about enough.
Yeah, Exhibit
like,
raw.
Yeah,
Exhibit's cold.
Yeah.
Eminem. And then man, Jay-Z, Nas. But at the same time, like my dad is a professional guitar player.
Okay.
Yeah, so
you had introduction to like music at least a young age.
Yes, like my dad was like playing guitar for as long as I can remember. So 2-3 years old, he'd be like playing all his guitars, electric, classical, and he was in the National Guard and he was in the Army band.
Oh, gotcha. So he was just playing all the time.
Yeah, so we go on tour with my dad in the summer. So yeah, and he'll be taking his own gigs outside of the band too. But so yeah, my dad would listen to Jimi Hendrix, Miles Davis, John Coltrane, Bob Marley, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Sublime. So a lot of that stuff is like some of my favorite music too. And then my mom was listening to like Earth, Wind and Fire, Stevie Wonder. My dad was listening to that too, but this was like my mom's like stuff.
Yeah.
All of that Motown, Al Green, just a bunch of that. But also she was listening to TLC. So and I grew up on like the radio. So Ja Rule, TLC, like everything.
Yeah,
Britney
50
Spears, Backstreet Boys, like everything. So, but yeah, 50 Cent for sure.
Yeah, see, somebody made a comment about him the other day. I'm going to slowly start mentioning his name because I'm curious about this.
Yeah.
Somebody made a comment and they were so correct. It's just lived in my head forever. 50 Cent was hitting us with such melodic music in a time where nobody acknowledged melodic in that style of music. Yeah. He was out here just putting out bangers.
For sure.
And like the sneakiest spots in his music were so musical and you were just, we didn't appreciate it.
I think also because Ja Rule was doing that too.
True.
So, yeah, I think 50 did a good job of trashing Ja Rule so much that nobody would be like, well, you're kind of doing the same thing as him.
Yeah.
But yeah, everything at that time, Nelly, but also like Talib Kweli, Mos Def.
The Black Star album was the first record I ever bought. Like physical record. It's out on the wall in the editing area.
I love Black Star.
Yeah.
That's like, and a lot of people weren't really hip to it.
No, that flew so far under the radar. I think partly because they didn't like make more of it. You know what I mean? Like, they became Black Star, did that album and like a couple other little things, but then never like.
I think at the time it was also like, not Mac Dre yet, but Mac Dre is very influential in my career. But I think at the time with Black Star, it was just like they're kind of like Mac Dre.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm trying to think of more West Coast artists that were like them at the time.
I heard that they did not like meld in the long run collaboratively. One of them, like Talib, was very like by the seat of his pants, very loose, very fluid, like everything could happen whenever. And Mus was just very like dialed, like wanted to get in, get the work done, make it happen.
I even feel like just Mos Def period, just Talib period, they're just not as famous as like Jay-Z.
Well, I think most is, but in different ways. Like most people know who Mos Def is, but also he's now Yasin Bey. You know what I mean? Like, like a big name change like that, late in your career. I feel
like Mos Def is like,
but he did acting too. Exactly, he got in front of people in different ways.
More acting, but at the same time, he's still not like just that like.
No, he's kind of like Lupe Fiasco.
Yeah.
Where like the incitement, there's an insightful element, but it wasn't sustainable because it didn't play by all the rules of the modern sound to put it on that upper echelon or like that experience.
And I think eventually a lot of those people will become like more iconic. I mean, like Common.
They're acknowledged for sure.
Yeah, but they weren't okay. I think it's kind of hard, bro, because there was this because they're kind of underground.
Yeah,
they're not super underground because they're icons. They're like, especially Mos Def.
Yeah,
I think Mos Def and Common. I think Kweli was more just like he didn't even really. He
didn't want it. Yeah, like he lived like he does a lot of things regularly, and he lives his life the way he wants to. For sure. I think he was immersed in the lifestyle. I think most. Definitely was more of a creative.
Yeah.
He wanted to expand and kind of like a Childish Gambino.
Yeah.
Childish Gambino, phenomenal musician, phenomenal actor, phenomenal at all the things he chooses to do, but he doesn't choose to consistently do any one thing.
For sure. Just creative.
Yeah. And he in an interview of his own said that he just goes where the fun is.
Oh, you know what? Yeah. When we were talking, I forgot, and this is just random because we're talking about Mos Def and Childish Gambino. Mm-hmm. I do a lot of background acting.
Okay.
I do a lot of background acting.
Okay,
so aside from music, and it's not even just background acting. It's like there's a lot of things that come with the production. So like being a stand-in, being in the background. And I just love being on set. Yeah. So even if I could I haven't done things like this yet, but even if I was just getting someone their coffee. So just being on set, that's just another random thing. But yeah, and then Outkast, I could go on forever. There's a million artists that
you know what? Before
even I don't even know if I'm saying her name right, but Colby Calouette. I don't even know how to say her name, but she does a song called what is the song called? I don't know, but every genre. I was into movie soundtracks. Yeah. I would listen to the Gladiator soundtrack. It's scores. So Fantasia.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Fantasia soundtrack is that's a very specific thing to call out because the soundtrack was almost the purpose of the movie. Exactly. You know what I mean?
It is a soundtrack.
Yeah. There's no dialogue.
Yeah.
It's just a soundtrack.
But yeah, I let Lion King soundtrack.
Well, I mean, if we're going to talk about Lion King soundtrack, we have to bring up Tarzan's soundtrack because Phil Collins just went in. But before we get into that, I might have opened a new can of worms.
That was all my stuff. Yeah.
Let's get back into you.
Okay, for sure.
We'll do a whole separate episode now where we're just talking about music we love. This might be fun.
That's all my.
Yeah, and that's awesome. I think it shows that you have a really wide foundation of musical experience, which is different for everybody.
Yeah.
So it's cool that you got different appreciation from different genres from both your parents and just in atmospheric experiences. Yeah. But we have a couple more foundation questions.
Let's get it.
So let's get through those. This next one, it's one we ask early, it's one we ask often, and it's definitely a crowd favorite. What was the first album you ever bought with your own money?
So
hard. you went and you were like, I need to get this. Got that. And if you can't remember specifically the first one, the earliest one you can remember buying.
Oh, man. I think the earliest one, I don't know which one was first, but we used to go to this place called CD and Game Exchange, and they didn't you could be a kid and get the stuff with the parental advisory.
Okay, yeah, they just
So,
didn't
like,
care.
That's where we were really like, okay.
Allegedly, if they're still open.
No,
allegedly.
I don't think they are anymore because they were like PlayStation games. You know,
Oh,
like
gotcha. Yeah,
CD
yeah.
and game exchange. It was like
Yeah.
the CDs, and then you could go there and sell CDs and like so this a place that's no longer.
No, I gotcha.
But maybe before that, it might have been a D12.
Okay.
The D12, just a single of Purple Hills.
Okay.
Just a single. But after that, Obi Trice, Cheers. I remember getting the Obi Trice album. It was green and it was like something. And then Lazy Bone. I got Lazy Bone's solo album.
Okay.
It was called El Burner.
Oh man, you were deep in it. Hell yeah. I love that.
I got his solo album.
Damn.
And it was like obviously like not the production.
No,
that,
but
like the Bone Thugs. Even like when you get the Obi Trice CD, it's like the big booklet, and it's like, oh man, his was like just a little.
Yep.
But I was like, oh wait, he has his own.
That's
so yeah. Those were like my first memories of
hell yeah
grabbing stuff.
Hell yeah. And then what was the first show you ever went to that was like, again, because I imagine you got brought to a lot of them when you were younger, but what was the first one like you were like, oh my God, this show is happening, I have to go to it?
That's tough. I don't know. The first show that I felt like I had to go to, I opened up for a lot of artists before I was even 21. So I opened up for D12.
Oh, damn.
Immortal Technique and Dead Prez.
Okay.
Yeah, probably all, like, I was probably like under 19, maybe 19 at the Dead Prez show or the Immortal Technique show. But I think the first concert that I was just like, I went to, one of my good friends, my sister, Brittany, she took me to Lazy Bone.
Okay.
Yeah, she took me to Lazy Bone. And my friend Mike Bars, I didn't know him at the time. I just met him that day. He was opening up for Lazy Bone. And I always had like a connection because like I told you, I bought his joint back in the day, his solo joint. And so I actually told him that day because he was like, so we go to the show and I never even would have thought to go. And my homegirl is like a really good friend of mine. She was like, no, I need to take you to this. And so she takes me, and he was doing his sound check. And I can never forget it. He was doing his sound check and he was walking all over the venue, making sure that the microphone had zero feedback and he could go anywhere he wanted to go.
Okay.
And so if he heard a little bit, he was like, okay, fix that. You know what I'm saying? And then he was just walking around like regular, like no security, nothing. So a lot of people were probably like standoffish because for one, you don't want to just be all up in a celebrity's face because they probably get that all the time.
Yeah.
And then for two, maybe some people were a little intimidated or starstruck. So no one was approaching him. And I was just like, yo, he's just standing right there. And so I just did. I'm like, yo, what's good? Like, you're a huge inspiration. You basically have changed my life. Like, I bought your solo album. I bought El Burner. I know. That's how I'm like, you're my favorite out of all the Bone Thugs.
Damn.
And he was just like, appreciate it, thank you. And of course I tell him I make music, I'm a rapper, and like, what do I have to do a song with you?
Okay, look at you, just networking right from the start.
Yep. Like no fear.
Hey, close mouth doesn't get fed.
And he was like, are you performing tonight? I'm like, nah. And he was already like, oh, come on, bro. Like, you supposed to be performing. Like, cause I'm telling him I'm the guy. Everybody knows me. I got the city on smash. He was like, yo, you supposed to be performing tonight. And then this is like, we're in the Northwest, so it's very cannabis friendly. And so he was like, well, what's up, man? Come to the bar. I'm like, I'm 19.
Oh, no.
He was like, oh, you supposed to have an ID or something. You feel me? I'm like, oh. I'm like, I really smoke, though. He was like, well, where the weed at? You know what I'm saying? You know, we Bone Thugs, we smoke. You feel me? I'm like, I ain't even got no tree.
Damn.
And he was like,
you're just unprepared.
That's basically what he said. Like, man, you ain't even ready, bro. Like, you're not even ready. If you would have had the tree, we would have been on the bus. You would have been smoking with me. And then we could have been talking about the song. What's up? Because I'm like, I got the studio and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And so he wrote down his email and was like, hit me up when you're ready. So that was like that's the first concert that I ever decided to go to. And then
Hell yeah.
saw him rock after that, and he killed it. Yeah.
That's got to be such an interesting experience, or like an eye-opening moment at least.
Yeah.
To have somebody that you like really look up to you, like take you seriously. First of all, that's such a cool level of respect, especially for you, like, you know, for being so young, being like 19 or younger.
Yep.
Just being like, hey, I want to do this, and him not going, "Pff, you're a child, get out of here." Like, he answered you like you were serious, and he laid out his things that as an artist he would have laid out, and you responded honestly, and he gave feedback. He was like, look, based off of this interaction, this is what you would have need to done, or need to have done. So that's really cool.
I think that maybe someone else might have took offense from it, but I really was like, damn, he really schooled me.
No, that he was honest.
He gave me a lot of good advice, a lot of game, and I was like, yo.
And he didn't tell you to screw off, you know, and he wasn't like, hey, just be gone.
He kept giving me opportunity. He was like, yo, come to the bar.
He was trying. He was trying so hard.
Where's the tree? Well,
yeah.
And I'm like, yeah. So,
and he still gave you his email after.
He did.
And that's like, you know, so like he wasn't like, it's a no because you didn't meet this. He's like I saw these, you didn't get this chance, but that, like, I want to see you succeed. Yeah. That's really powerful, man. That's really cool.
Really, really, really. Shout out to Lazy Bone. That was like a life-changing moment. Legendary moment, man. Yeah.
All right. But now we've gotten to know you on the foundationary level. Let's get to know the you now.
Yeah.
And we're going to get the super easy one out of the way.
Okay.
How did you pick your name?
So Mandela is part of my given name. So my first name is Bo Mandela. So shout out to Moms. She picked my name. And I
don't think you had a lot of say in it at the time.
Yeah.
If we're being honest, you were a little busy.
And I think my dad really had a lot to do with my other brothers, even though, so my baby brother and my older brother, they both have John in their name. My dad's name is John. So my older brother's name is Jonathan Conrad, and my little brother is Timothy John. So I was kind of like the name that my mom got to do, I think.
Gotcha.
And then Swiggle is a kind of a crazy story. So in like 2010, we're working with this artist, and his name was Swag. And the first time I saw him was on MTV. And so this was when MTV was like MTV Jams.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was, that channel was music videos 24 hours a day.
It was what MTV should have been.
Yep, late
the whole
night,
time.
you could go there, early morning. Anytime you went to MTV Jams, it was music videos. I loved MTV Jams. It was so lit. And then they had the Jam of the Week and all that. But we were watching MTV Jams, and this video comes on featuring Jim Jones from Dipset. And so I love Jim Jones. I have a song with him now. Shout out to Jim Jones. Nice. But we're watching it, and we see the guy whose song it is. His name is Swag, and he has a chain on, and the chain has Washington, Oregon, and California on the chain. And I've just never seen...
Yeah, the whole coast.
Yeah, I've never seen nobody represent Washington and Oregon.
Yeah.
So I was looking at that like...
Interesting.
Yeah, like we know people represent Cali every day.
Yeah.
Like, they got a million artists that have blown up.
And they'll be in California and say the West Coast.
Yep.
Damn. Yep. I never even thought of that till right now. Yep. Holy shit.
So a lot of people don't even, like, that's why we are so kind of almost separate to where we say Northwest.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I'm looking at, and then they're rapping about being in Seattle. So it piques my curiosity even more. Like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
So there's something going on in Seattle I don't know about. There's a whole scene I didn't know about. And so I'm like, huh? Who is this guy? And so when that video would come on, we would always love it. Like, oh, that joint is on with the dude with the chain. That's Oregon on his chain. And so one day I was interning for the Bureau of Transportation at this time.
Okay.
I was like 18 or 19. And I would do shows and parties and be early morning downtown at the Bureau of Transportation. Sleepy. I'll be sleeping in my cubicle. And
allegedly.
And so one of my homies called me on my phone, my cell phone, and he was like, Mackin, shout out to Tie-Dye Mackin. He called me And I think I called him back on the office phone because I had one at my cubicle. I think I looked crazy on my cell phone, so I called him back.
Mhm.
And he was like, man, it's this dude in town. His name is Swag. He's trying to do features.
Oh.
And this is the first time I've heard about, like, maybe not the first time I heard about paying for features, but I had never paid anybody for a feature yet.
Yeah.
And he was like, he's charging this amount of money. And they hit me up because he knew whoever was doing some management for him was from Portland.
Yeah.
And so he's like, he hit me up, but I'm not really ready. I don't have a budget, and I'm not even like, I don't feel like it's gonna be valuable if I do it.
Yeah.
And you're more on your job, like you're doing your thing. So I figured I'd reach out to you. They're looking for somebody to do the feature.
Mhm.
And so I'm like, who is he? It was like, yeah, he has a song with Jim Jones. And I'm like, yo, is it on MTV? And he's like, yeah, that's the dude. I'm like, what, for real? So I'm hitting up all the homies like, what do y'all think this is? You think it's a scam? Is it what is this? This guy, this is the guy.
Yeah.
And they're like, man, let's just give it a shot.
Yeah.
I think he wanted like a certain amount, and we like went down a little bit. Like, this is all we have. And he was like, yeah, I'll pull up. And so he pulled up on us. He had like a car with his names in the seats and big rims and Louis Vuitton backpack and belt. And we did a song called Northwest Coastin'. And from there, we were hanging out with him a lot. And he went on tour with 50 Cent in Europe. And he was doing songs with all types of people. Juvenile and Nipsey Hussle, Gucci Mane.
Mm-hmm.
And then we started hanging out with him in Seattle. He was having mansions and crazy stuff. And I remember he took us to this radio station, and we were in a Range Rover. He had all types of cars, and somebody was like, said what's up to him, like, hey, yo, Swiggle. And so I heard that, like, oh, that sounds kind of tight. It's kind of like Jay-Z, Jigga, Lil Wayne, Weezy. And so they called him Swiggle. And then I would notice he would say that on a lot of his songs. He would start the song just by saying Swiggle. And so I'm like, okay, that was kind of tight. And eventually he got caught up for selling drugs. And this is public knowledge, so it's not like I'm snitching or anything. It's like, you can literally go look this up on the internet.
Yeah.
They have articles on articles about it. Shout out to my boy Swag. He's actually out now, but at the time he did get arrested, and they confiscated probably $1 million from him.
Oof.
It was like a setup where they had like 20,000 pills or something, and he pulled up with the money.
Damn.
So yeah, he was selling a lot of drugs, and we didn't know at the time. We were just doing a lot with him musically, and he was teaching us a lot about the industry. But that's definitely likely how he was funding a lot of the crazy things we saw him doing, like going on tour with 50 Cent in Europe.
Yeah.
Having a music video on MTV Jam, shit we've never seen. And he would be like, yeah, that just costs this much. If you want to be on MTV Jams, you got to have this amount of money. And he taught us about budgets and all types of stuff like that. And so when he went to jail, and then I have an older brother who also raps. His name is JC Cordetta, but he was going by Lil Swag at the time because we were with Swag. And my baby brother also raps. And then my older brother ended up, my older brother ended up going to jail too. And so while they were in jail, my name was just Mandela, and I was kind of hard to search.
Yeah. Yeah. That's you put that in. That's not enough.
You put that in on YouTube.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or Google.
Yeah.
Obviously, Nelson's gonna pop up.
And then the Mandela effect right after that.
You feel me? So, I decided when they were down there, I was gonna put Swiggle in front of my name just to better brand it, and because my brother was Lil Swag, our big homie was Swag, and so I was Swiggle Mandela, and so it really branded me like way better.
Yeah.
Like, you search me, I'm the only one. So yeah, that's the crazy story that the name comes
Hell
from.
Yeah. Hell yeah. All right. Now, a lot of these questions have definitely led to longer stories and such.
For sure.
But this one, I think, is going to be just very much a mentality thing. We're going to talk about your process, your like when it comes to writing music, and we're gonna go through a few points of it. And we're gonna start right at the beginning. When you get inspired, so you're ready to make music, you want to make music, you're already in the zone. We'll get past that step. What are some of the things you do to get into making a song? What are some of the things, like once you sit down, do you like grab pen and paper? Do you just throw in a beat, some headphones? Like what's your jumping off point for getting into writing or making music?
Well, I have to have the beat. The beat first, and the beat will inspire me. And then I usually have an AirPod. And then it depends, because my album Movie Money, the one I did before my most recent album, I actually went out into like nature and wrote,
Okay.
and I actually had a pen and a pad. But a lot of my newer stuff is written just in my notepad on my phone.
Yeah.
So sometimes I'll just walk around with the beat,
Mm-hmm.
walk around and write like that. But I'm kind of like always in that mode. I'm like always inspired to
Yeah.
where I could just be watching anything. I could just be sitting and having a conversation with you and think of a bar, or watching Naruto or something and think of a bar from that. And so I'll already have like just a arsenal of bars I can pick from.
Yeah.
So I'm hearing the beat. I might be like, oh, let me go look through those bars and see if something works.
Okay.
And then I might place that somewhere, or yeah, I smoke. Probably smoke. Like if I'm ready to write, I'm gonna smoke.
Yeah.
Yeah. So but yeah, that's kind of it.
Okay. And then how long would you say it takes for you to get to, excuse me, how long would you think it takes for you to get to a point where a track is ready to perform? So like once you got the song written, you already have a whole song, you've dialed it in, you've like maybe recorded it or you've started practicing it. How long from the point where a song is quote unquote ready to start practicing does it take you to get to that first performance?
Sometimes it's like before I even record it, I'm performing it.
Okay.
But
Can you explain that a little bit more?
well, there was like there's just certain songs where like I was performing so often. Maybe when I was like in my 20s, I was performing so often that like I would write a song and I would already have it memorized and ready to go record it, and then it just wouldn't be recorded yet, and I'd just be at a show like, I'm gonna just test this out.
Okay.
Like show y'all this song. No one heard it before. And
But-
then recently I just wrote 2 songs, and I think like while I was writing them, I was ready to perform it.
Oh damn.
I memorized it so while writing it.
Yeah.
Because I just like rapped it 1,000 times.
Interesting.
Yeah, so like thinking of like, for one, I didn't even really need to write the chorus down.
Yeah.
Because I said the chorus so many times trying to figure it out. I just wrote it down just to make sure I don't forget it.
Just in case of that one day where the coffee hasn't hit right yet.
But I already knew the chorus before I went to the studio.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, and so
Interesting.
yeah, these new songs immediately, I think I'm going to do them at my next show on December.
Well, surprise, y'all. We're going to have him do it right now. No, I'm kidding.
I probably could, though.
Hell yeah. Well, that's cool. That's really interesting because that means that you are going basically line by line, but like meticulously.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really powerful approach.
For sure.
And then just to kind of round out the music creation process, when do you decide a track is ready to release?
Well, after I record it, I'll get a rough draft and I'll listen to that a bunch of times, a million times, especially right after I leave the studio. I'll just on repeat all night, and then I'll listen to it and see if I want to change anything. A lot of times I don't, but sometimes I might be like, okay, if I'm going back to the studio, I might as well say this bar a little better, change this up. And then once those things are done, I'll have the engineer master it, and then I'm ready. I'm pretty like...
Yeah. So you're just... once it's done, you're just ready to put it out?
Yeah.
Okay.
And sometimes I might record a whole album, and then I'm like, okay, we're releasing it in January on this day.
Yeah, a body of work, I think, should be a scheduled time.
But a lot of times I'm like, okay, I need to be releasing something, and then I'll 4 weeks out, I'll schedule it or whatever so that it'll be on DSPs within 4 weeks. But yeah, as soon I'm almost ready to release it when I'm recording it. I'm just already thinking like, okay, when is this going to be mastered?
Hell yeah.
So that I can get it out. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And now let's look at your current sound. So like the music you're performing regularly or working on regularly, the most recent album you put out. What is it about your current sound that you enjoy? What are some like elements of it that just every time you hear it, they're the things that make you the most excited?
A lot of my like party songs, a lot of my just slaps, just the ones that just pound. Like they usually have like a West Coast kind of a feel. And yeah, the beats, man, they really pound. They're just like really fun. So the beats, a lot of the time, even on like other ones that aren't party songs, the beats, I really enjoy the production. So that's what really gets me into it anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And I think there's definitely a level of emphasis that I think needs to go into that. Like I think like even if like your beats come from different people all the time, you have to have a style. You have to have an approach to a degree. Like everybody should push the envelope within that. But you have to have something that like people equate that to you.
For sure. And then I think just listening and just hearing myself is always like a crazy thing since the first time I started doing it. So
yeah.
Just listening to myself and like how I improved, or like if I really killed it, like I want to hear my verse and just the crazy lines that I come up with. So
Oh, yeah. And I think that kind of answers this last question for the artist focus portion. And that's we've talked a lot about like the things that happen because of music, the world that is music around us. But music happens mostly on the inside. That's where it starts. That's where it comes from.
For sure.
What is it about the process of making music in its totality? So like all the things that come from it are like things that but what is it that you get inside from music?
I think like I feel accomplished. And it gives me confidence.
Okay.
And then I think like I get to vent. So there's like some healing that happens just being able to just be honest and say exactly what I want to say. And then I think probably hope, because it's always weird to write. It's always just like, how do I even know it's going to be good?
Yeah.
And then a lot of the times it is. So it just gives me this, it's like a surprise. I'm like, okay, this is still working. So.
Oh yeah. I like that. Actually, your first answer was so like direct and so honest. Like it's cool that was your first thing to go to. It's like it's your confidence. It's a point of strength almost.
Yeah.
Because it is. Every time you make a song, you've succeeded in creating something.
Yep.
And that's a recurring theme I say on the show all the time. That is the ability to create music is something that can start from zero and come out of you with nothing needed except you.
For sure.
But I think that's, and then like being able to like finish up a song and feel that, man, all of that was a really good answer. I kind of got lost in like listening to it, so I don't have a follow up for it. But y'all should definitely go back and re-listen to his answer. I feel like that there was a lot of strength in that. So thank you for sharing that.
Of course.
But now let's go ahead and we're going to move on to some hypothetical questions.
Okay.
And these are all sky's the limits. Have fun with them. There's no wrong answer because there's no real answers.
For sure.
But we're going to get right into it with just kind of a general one. If you could work with any one person who's currently alive, and they could be anybody. They don't have to be another rap artist. They could be anybody. But if you could work with any one person, who would you want to work with and how would you want to work with them? And they have to be alive.
I think I'm not sure, but
and I mean, I bet this is tough because you've worked with a lot of people that you've wanted to. Like, that's a really cool achievement in and of itself.
I think because it's like I obviously might want to just work with this just the most iconic, like Nas or Drake. Like,
those are acceptable answers. I think that at a certain point, there's certain people that you can work with to like gain things. But also, like I said, it doesn't have to be a rap artist or even a musician per se. But it could, like I said, it could be anybody.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like really, like the world.
That's crazy, man. Man, I think. I mean, because I might want to go with like a Lyrical Lemonade or something for my music video. That would be tight to have like a Lyrical Lemonade music video.
Okay.
But I think I would want to work with, there's an artist, her name is Maggie Rogers. And I would want to work with Maggie Rogers. She produces and she sings.
Hell
So
yeah.
I would want to collaborate, do a song with her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. All right. And then subsequently, who's a local artist that you're aware of that you haven't gotten to connect with yet, but they're on your radar and you would like to work with them?
Dang, that's kind of hard too. 'Cause
I imagine that'll be tougher for sure.
I work with
Everybody.
whoever I want.
Yeah.
Essentially. Let me think.
Yeah. I guess in that case, who's somebody recently that you found out about that you haven't gotten to connect with yet?
Okay, I'll say I want to work with an artist named Four. Her name is Four, and
Like the number or the
it's
word?
It's like the number first, and then OUR. That's
Okay.
how you spell her name. Yeah.
Okay, so it is the number and the number.
Yeah.
Fun.
I
like
want to
that.
work with Four. So she's a newer artist that I've been booking her for shows and stuff, and she's super dope. So,
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Shout out to Four.
Hell yeah. Shout out Four.
Do some work. Yeah.
All right. And then if you could perform anywhere in the world and you wouldn't have to worry about crowd access, power, building stability, guaranteed best show, doesn't have to be a venue. It can be anywhere and everything would go perfect. Where would you want the show to be?
Probably Africa. Somewhere in Africa.
Okay.
South Africa.
Okay.
Yeah, because I already can do a show in the Philippines pretty easily. And I think I could go to Europe and do some shows in Europe pretty easily. And so, like, just a place where I don't have any connections, and if I could just make it happen, yeah.
Hell yeah.
Somewhere in Africa, for
Hell
sure.
yeah. All right. And then to wrap it up, if you could get one more album from anybody, they could be alive, dead, doesn't matter, but you can get one more album right now, who would you want an album from?
Nipsey Hussle.
Damn.
Yeah.
Damn, you had that on lock too.
Yeah. Nipsey Hussle.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. All right. Well, we've made it to the end. Why don't you go ahead and tell us what's coming up next? Say the beginning of 2024. What can we look forward to?
I'm going to throw a concert. It's going to be almost like a mini festival.
Okay.
It's called Still Boomin'.
Ooh.
Still Boomin'.
Love that.
It's going to be huge. I'm pretty sure it's going to be at Kelly's Olympian, downtown Portland.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, it'll be huge, man. And new music. I got new music videos coming. I got a music video to my song called Unfamiliar. I have a record that nobody's heard yet, where I'm speaking Waray, and Waray is it's like the Philippines has a lot of dialects, and so my family's native languages, well, one of them is Waray, so it's like an unreleased joint that people will hear, and yeah, man, a lot of content, a lot of collaborations where, like, I might be just performing one of my verses or one of my songs over, like, violin or over piano, so something that's already been released that people love, and just like another version of it. So there'll be a lot of that too.
Oh yeah. I actually remembered something I wanted to say earlier, and I kind of want to get it on here.
Yeah.
Because you had said before how, like, there's that moment where, like, you keep putting out music and you're like, oh, I've still got it. Or like, man, how are people going to receive this and stuff? Sure. I usually use an example of a song by Chromeo called Mama's Boy, which is like a doo-wop beat that one of the dudes did not vibe with, and the other dude was like, trust me. And it's like one of their favorites. But I heard something else the other day that I wanted to tack on and attach to that thought, is that you never know when a song is going to become a hit.
Yep.
Like, sometimes you can put, like, you know, your second album out of like 10 albums you have, and somebody finds it, puts it in the right place, and one of the songs from that blows up, like, you know, 5,000 years later, you know, however many. So putting out music into the world is the most important thing. If you're doing it to what you consider to be the best of your abilities at the time, it may resonate 10 years later. There may be an element in the song that everybody thought was weird, and then it becomes that sound, and then it's just been there the whole time, and people call it an originator of that aspect. Like, there's so much to be said, but I really appreciated that you'd said putting out music to show that you can still do it.
Yeah.
Was kind of the emphasis, so I wanted to tack that on. Sorry to really bring that way back there, but I didn't want to lose that.
Definitely.
All right, now let's go ahead and tell people how they can find you. Have you look straight in the camera, give everybody the plugs and ads.
Swiggle Mandela, like Nelson, everywhere. Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, Amazon, all DSPs. Just put my name in that search bar. Google me, Swiggle Mandela like Nelson.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. And then any other plugs, any other shout outs, anybody else you want to put on while you're on here?
Shout out the whole La Familia gang. Shout out the whole Fish gang. The whole Northwest. We coming heavy right now. And all my supporters, all my fans, everybody on the team, worldwide, because it's international right now. And everything's kind of changing. Spotify's doing a whole bunch of weird stuff, and so we just need all the support that we can get. We need extra, all the stuff you can do for free. So share, like, tell your friend to tell a friend and tell his mom that we're doing this huge, we're doing this big. And shout out to all my people and my Filipinos, all my Filipinas, because they going crazy right now, supporting everything, blowing me up worldwide. Shout out to everybody, man, my family, my parents, everybody. And just, we're taking this thing to another level, and we got like an army of people, and we're independent. We don't have no label. So if anybody can do what we're trying to do, which is just enter the industry on a crazy way and really be up there with like the top guys, and I don't have to be number one, but I think if anybody can do it, it's us, because y'all have already showed me, y'all have changed my life with the amount of support that y'all do. So let's do it.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. All right, now we've got one last question to go.
Yeah.
But before we do, I'm going to steal the camera for just a second.
Okay, where?
As always, y'all, please make sure to like, subscribe, push all the buttons, do all of the things. You know, I don't know where they are, but you do, and I trust you. And with that being said, the final question. What is an album that is, like, important, that you think everybody should know, that, like, just stands out above all the other ones for you?
Like an album, someone's album, or my album?
Yeah, someone's album. Like, because obviously people are going to go and look at your music after this episode, because this is a delightful episode. But like, who's like, what's something people should like sit with and like learn something from, something that stands out to you?
Okay, well, let me. I gotta remember what Kendrick Lamar's last album was called, but his last album.
Okay.
Let me see.
Yeah, I don't know why the name's not jumping out to me either at the moment.
Yeah, but
Damn.
it wasn't something that I really went back to a lot, but the experience of it, I listened to it front to back.
It's important. It's important. There's a lot in that album.
Yeah, and I think if you can listen to it with an open mind and learn from it, yeah. Dang, what was it called? Oh, because it has this crazy name, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers.
There we go. Hell yeah.
Yeah, front to back it. It's something you can really learn from, and I think, especially like the Black community, you know, my community. Yeah, there's a lot to learn there. So yeah.
Hell yeah. All right. Well, we've made it to the end of the episode. Thank you so much for joining us.
Of course.
Oh, yeah. This has been another exciting episode of Jimmy's Jambox. I'm Jimmy.
I'm Swiggle Mandela.
And we're signing off. Later, y'all.
That's a wrap.
This is not a podcast. This is a show.
Keep jamming.